It's time for multimillionaires and Super Bowl winners Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes to compete on the finest field of their lives, Battle of the Richest. So how much are we talking about here, just dollars and cents? Let's start with Tom Brady. With 20 seasons playing for the New England Patriots and a few with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers under his belt, Brady has become one of the most recognizable and beloved football players in the world. Though, depending on where you are, that might not be a good thing. Under Brady's reign with the Patriots, he brought home a staggering 6 Super Bowl wins. They currently sit at the top spot with the Pittsburgh Steelers with the most Super Bowl titles, period. This made the Pats both the most beloved team in America and the most hated team in America. I'm sure Brady cries into wads of $100 bills about it all the time. I mean, he certainly has enough of them. His insanely successful career earned him a ton of cash just in terms of his contracts alone, and then you've got the endorsements on top of that. Let's divide his earnings into 2 phases. During the glory years with the Pats, Brady averaged $11.7 million a year over the 20 seasons he played for them. He reportedly brought in over $235 million altogether. Now let's look at the Buccaneers' years. When Brady went to Tampa Bay and was negotiating a 2-year contract, they knew they had to pay big for a name like his. The 2020 contract was $50 million. That wasn't impressive enough alone, it also featured another $9 million in incentives. After bringing home a Super Bowl win in 2021, I'd say they got what they paid for. During his whole 22-year career, he reportedly brought in over $293 million. To put that in perspective, Eli and Peyton Manning both made around $250 mil. So this really is a serious payday by serious payday standards. Then there's the endorsement deals. As one of the most celebrated football players of all time, it's pretty safe to assume that a lot of people wanted to work with Brady off the field as well. He was pretty selective about his deals and was known for being a pretty shrewd businessman. Brady worked with the likes of Under Armour, Molecule Mattresses, Upper Deck, and IWC watches. Then you've got to add in the paid appearances and the merch that brought him quite a bit of cash too. All of these brought him over $180 million. I mean, that's no Air Jordan deal, but it's still pretty impressive. All of this puts him well over $400 million in terms of 20 years playing football. That's over the course of 2 decades. Now that he's retired though, where has this net worth ended up? Well, Brady is reported to be worth $250 million today. Then we've got Brady's wife. When it comes to marrying well, it's hard to do better than Giselle. She is a famous model who then became a successful businesswoman. Weirdly enough, despite all of Brady's success, Giselle is actually the one who brings in the most cash. She's worth $400 million, nearly double her husband's net worth. For the sake of playing fair, though, we'll just count her husband's worth today. Not that she's liable to be the richer one for very long. As far as the future goes, don't count Brady out just yet. He just signed a giant deal for an NFT company, Autograph. On top of that, the New York Post recently hyped up the idea that Brady could go on to become a billionaire if he played his cards right. They lined out options for him ranging from more endorsement deals to speaking engagements to broadcasting to even Hollywood. Will Brady be joining the 3 Commas Club? Well, we'll see soon enough. While Brady might be earning Silicon Valley levels of money soon, he's not the only football player to be making big deals. Patrick Mahomes is rising up to possibly become the biggest player of all time. His salary has been steadily escalating over the last few years as he's gained more and more notoriety. The 2020 Sports Illustrated Sportsperson of the Year really knows how to negotiate. In 2020, he was making around $10.8 million a year. Then he made NFL history. The Chiefs won the 2020 Super Bowl, which was the first they'd taken since their 1970 win against the Vikings. Mahomes won himself a ring, so now he was in a whole new weight class, fame-wise. The kind of weight class you really have to pay for. While negotiating with the Kansas City Chiefs, it was pretty clear that they wanted to hold on to him at all cost. And I mean that very literally. In July of 2020, Mahomes brought in the richest NFL contract of all time. The 10-year deal will bring him in over $503 million if he hits all of his incentives. Mahomes may very well end up becoming the richest player in NFL history if things keep trending his way. He's also brought in a ton of endorsement deals, but he isn't pulling in the biggest NFL numbers in that regard just yet. Mahomes is partnered with BioSteel, Adidas, Oakley, Head & Shoulders, State Farm, Bose, DirecTV, Essentia Water, and Electronic Arts. But this has only brought him around $7 million. Definitely not Air Jordan money. The Chiefs aren't the only Kansas City team that he's associated with either. As of July of 2020, Mahomes became a part owner of the Kansas City Royals. This makes him the youngest owner of the team in their history. He may have a small stake in the team, but they're worth over $1 billion, so that's still gonna pay off. So how much does all this budding success for Mahomes amount to? Well, his total net worth today is reported to be $30 million. That number is likely to skyrocket over the next 10 years, especially if he keeps winning Super Bowls. Mahomes may very well end up topping the charts as the highest paid NFL player in history, but not today. Today, Brady's $250 million towers over the $30 million Mahomes has managed to rack up. This competition may very well look different in 10 years if Mahomes keeps getting endorsements and the whole NFT thing doesn't work out in Brady's favor, which is very possible. In 2032, Mahomes may have a net worth that could consume Brady's, but not today. Brady wins this point easily. We've discussed the fortune these guys have made in their careers of sheer unbridled excellence, so they've got to carry that excellence back home, right? Well, Tom Brady certainly seems to think so. Back in 2004, Brady picked up a gorgeous Boston condo on Commonwealth Avenue. The Burge House has been described as the finest home in Boston. The 3,412 square foot 3-bedroom penthouse features 10 rooms, 3 working fireplaces, and parking for 2 cars. Every inch of this place still looks like a classic Bostonian home that you could imagine an aristocrat from the late 1890s living in, though I doubt even they had to drop $4.1 million on it, nor did they sell it for $5.2 million like Brady did. As nice as that historic place was, Brady's a big guy and he really needs a big place. He moved over to a penthouse on 310 Beacon Street that was somehow even nicer. The 5,311 square foot penthouse triplex was one of Boston's most expensive apartments. Once he married Giselle, though, they had to get a place for themselves. They managed to sell this $10 million place for a slightly discounted $9.27 million. Can't imagine they were too disappointed about that. After their marriage, it was clear that the Brady bunch would have to get the kind of home that could hold their collective star power. Apparently one didn't already exist, so they were forced to build a 14,000 square foot mansion in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles. This is their legendary estate that, despite being a multi-million-dollar mansion that they paid to have built from the ground up, was surprisingly grounded itself. You can clearly see Giselle's influence on Brady, as the whole home feels like a place to unwind and get in touch with your inner self. Seriously, every room of this home looks like it's ripped off the cover of House and Garden. From the looks of this place, I imagine that they would have less wild parties than they did yoga and meditation hours. It even featured things like a chicken coop, a vegetable garden, and an orchard right next to the huge pool and the private gym. I mean, they want to live like monks, but they're still rich celebrities living in Brentwood. I doubt the next occupant had the same lifestyle because they ended up selling it to Dr. Dre for $40 million. Their next home was just as ridiculously opulent with the same contrasting lifestyle. It's a grand 5.25 acre property with a 14,317 square foot mansion big enough for all the kids and cars the Bradys had acquired by that point. It may have been an enormous compound, but it was built with Giselle's environmentally conscious ideology in mind. The home featured solar panels and a kitchen built specifically for their vegetarian chef. The place sold on Christmas Eve for over $30 million. Then they bought a 3,310 square foot 3-bedroom condo at 1 Madison for $11.7 million and then sold it for $13 million. After that, they moved downtown to a $20 million 5-bedroom, 5,000 square foot penthouse in Tribeca. Then, when it was time to vacation, the Brady bunch packed up and went to their ultra-exclusive Yellowstone Club in Big Sky, Montana that costs $400,000 to join with annual dues of $40,000. Well, you can't say their portfolio disappoints. So how does Mahomes compare? Well, he doesn't have quite the eye for enormous mansions like the Bradys do. To be fair, most people don't. He lives in a rather humble Kansas City home by comparison. Mahomes snatched up this place in 2019, just over a year before he would win the Super Bowl and then secure that enormous contract deal. It's a 4,343 square foot home with 3 bedrooms and 2.5 bathrooms. It was built in 1953 and is mid-century with modern accents. It has some serious Art Deco Mad Men vibes. He purchased it for $1.9 million and has since dropped another $400,000 updating it. This seemed to be something of a dream come true for Mahomes and his fiancée, Brittany Matthews. He described what it was like in great detail to go from renting a place to owning a space where you didn't have to worry about nailing things into the walls, where they could design their own kitchen. That freedom certainly explains why he has quite an emotional attachment to the place, because even when the millions started rolling in, there was no move to a penthouse or an enormous estate. That makes this one pretty easy. The Bradys get this point, but it seems like Mahomes doesn't have to work quite as hard to give himself some inner peace at his place. So what kind of cars do NFL superstars drive? And more importantly, which collection races ahead of the other? Patrick Mahomes is building up a football career, so it makes sense that he's building up an excellent car collection as well. While many people who strike it rich immediately go out and buy cars that they won't be able to afford, Mahomes wasn't that kind of guy. He wasn't known for buying luxury cars for a long time. When he won the Super Bowl MVP award, he was gifted a brand new Genesis G70 luxury sedan. As of that time, it was the nicest car he'd ever owned. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing not to like about the G70. They're worth around $37,000, can ride at speeds up to 170 miles per hour, and have a 0 to 60 time of 4.5 seconds. It also looks to be about as cozy and smooth a ride as 37 grand can buy. It just doesn't have the flash you want to see a guy like Mahomes driving around in. He's one of the biggest names in modern sports history. You really want to see him driving around in, a brand new Ferrari? Once Mahomes signed that legendary deal, he decided it was time to drop some serious cash on a few new cars. No offense to the Genesis G70, but these blow it away. He started his big car buy with as much style as humanly possible when he picked up a 2020 Ferrari 812 Superfast. If I just signed the biggest deal in NFL history, this would definitely be a car on my short list. This ride can hit speeds up to 211 miles per hour with a 0 to 60 time of 2.9 seconds. These rare cars go for over $330,000. Honestly though, the big sell on this car is, come on, just look at it. It looks like the kind of car James Bond would ride. This is a car that screams, I'm about to be the NFL's GOAT. He's not just one of the greatest football players alive today, but one of the greatest fiancés as well. His fiancée woke up at 8 a.m. on a Monday morning to find quite the present waiting for her. Mahomes had purchased her an amazing new car. He got her a brand new Lamborghini Urus SUV. These babies can go for well over 200 grand. They have a top speed of 189 miles per hour with a 0 to 60 time of 3.1 seconds. Once again, it's the look of the car that brings that price tag so high. The Mahomes family rolling up in a brand new Ferrari and a brand new Lambo is the kind of flex that these two deserve. So how much does Tom Brady like to flex? Does he have a garage fully stocked, or is he one of those celebrities who likes to downplay his rich guy status when it comes to buying cars? Yeah, no, he's not that kind of rich guy at all. The Bradys love to drive electric cars. They've bought plenty of environmentally conscious vehicles like their Lexus GS 450h, Cadillac Escalade Hybrid, or their Lexus RX Hybrid. Of course, that isn't the centerpiece of their electric collection. You know where this is going. That's right, they've gotta have a Tesla because of course they do. You can't be a trendy rich person who loves electric cars without at least one Tesla. The one they own is the Tesla Model S. This nearly $95,000 car doesn't care that it's electric at all. It still hits speeds of up to 162 miles per hour with a 0 to 60 time of 2.07 seconds. That might be his favorite car to drive around in, but it's far from his best one. Brady has a staggering garage with many of my personal favorites included. Those include the likes of a $1.7 million Bugatti Veyron Supersport, the $400,000 Rolls-Royce Ghost, the limited edition $300,000 TB12 Aston Martin V12 Vanquish, the $200,000 Aston Martin DB11, the $165,000 Audi R8, and do I really need to go on? I mean, I love the taste that Mahomes has, and there's no doubt that he'll have an amazing car collection to go along with all the Super Bowl rings he's gonna get, but just look at what Brady has here. He's basically got the garage equivalent of the frickin' Avengers. This is another win for Brady. If you haven't been keeping track, this is just another title for Brady to win. We make special Super Bowl style The Richest rings that I'll have to send him to go along with all his other ones. I'm sure he'll be honored. The Kansas City Chiefs are worth almost $3 billion, largely because of Patrick Mahomes today. So there's a pretty good chance that he might be stealing this best rich guy in the NFL title back sometime soon.